Kind of cold, kind of breezy.
Did you bring me anything, like an ice lolly or something?
You're not going to believe this, but I did. I've got to get it out of the bag. Now, this is an Icelandic speciality, and I have to bring it over to you. Just a minute.
Oh,
Let me
no.
put my headphones down.
It's not an Eskimo, is it? What is it?
No, this is just for you. I remember you came back from Spain.
What is it, a yak?
And you brought me back some bread rolls.
Yes, that's right.
The bread rolls from every breakfast.
Here he is, listeners. You can tell by the sound. He's walking around the studio. And oh, my good.
I want you to take a nice big...
What is it? Tell them what it is.
Tell me what it is. Vestfriska hardfiskasland.
I knew that.
See me. This is dry salted fish, and it's a delicacy, and I'd like to just leave it just here.
Thank you.
For you very much.
My cat.
And it's a little...
My cat will refuse that. Thank you. It's very kind. Can I take that away with you, really?
I want you to take it away with me.
Please, now. Yeah. Come on, now, let's get started. Come on, let's get started. Diary time, diary time. I suppose you're wondering what high spots I've had this week while you've been lying around basking on the fields.
Actually, I was going to ask you what high spots you've had in the past fortnight.
I thought you were... Actually, of course, the high spot for me really wasn't sort of the high spot for me, you know. It's really a high spot for a lot of Radio 1 listeners. I could quite understand that, because when you were basking away there, I was in on Good Friday when other people are at home, you know, and no, I was in there. I was in the office and in the studios there, because it was round table time. And it was so strange. You come through these empty streets, and then as soon as I got to Broadcasting House, these stacks of girls all standing around, with, like, almost licking the building. You know what I mean? It's incredible all there, and just going, Simon! Simon! And I sort of walked by, and I thought, it's amazing. I just obviously missed it before. Normally, he's done his show and he's gone home, and I thought, let's face it, at Easter, Simon will be home, he'll be mucking out the stables and so on, and all these girls are here. Simon! Then I realised it wasn't actually our bespectacled chum at all, obviously. No, it was clearly Simon LeBon. Simon LeBon. Was that something funny? I never asked him about... Yeah, Simon LeBon. Sounds like something... I noticed next Saturday there's going to be a start of a new Robin Hood series starting up on television.
Robin of Sherwood.
Robin of Sherwood. That doesn't Simon LeBon sound like something out of that? You know, somebody who rides up and says, "Here, a purse of gold, you Saxon dog." That kind of thing, you know. "Hi, it is Simon LeBon." And he rides off into the forest. You know, it's like, "I sing the song of Simon LeBon, who rode to Nottingham town, a twiddly-diddly." You know, I mean, anyway, it's not him, obviously. It's the Duran Duran, Simon LeBon. And I had booked him for Round Table. And he very kindly, because obviously these people, he's huge all over the world, as you know, and said, no, he'd come in and do Round Table. Why not, you know, when in Britain. Do as he do. All these girls would turn up. When I get in the office, Richard Skinner's there, your chum who's been looking after your, keeping your seat warm this last couple of weeks. Skinner says to me, he says, "Have you seen all those girls out there?" I said, yeah, great. So he says, "It's going to be, you know, you're going to have to get to the security." So he said, "How are we going to get out?"
And did that present a problem?
I said, "How are we going to get out?" I said, "It's going to be like a Red Sea when we go out. It's just whoosh. We can get through. There's no one about us getting out." Of course, these people are like that. I had visions of perhaps having to be brought up like the back door, like in a laundry basket, you know, sort of, you know, just stacked in. But then I realised it's quite possible on a Good Friday there'd be nobody to carry me in. You know, so the girls wouldn't know I was in. So I'd have to jump up and down, and it's... it'd only go about a quarter of an inch at a time, because there's no leverage in a laundry basket. You know, and there'd be people standing, you know, looking at it, you know, as it got on the steps would be... Oh, come on, I mean, it couldn't possibly be done. So anyway, I got inside, and I thought, I'll get this sorted out, you know, and I got these deals worked out already. I called the boys of the MI, you know, obviously look after them, and they come in on their Good Friday, because we've got to look after their... major artist, or one of their major artists, Cliff Richard, Fancy Migley, right. So anyway, they said, and it was all very James Bondy, you know, and they said, like, it's about 5 o'clock, and they said, "Simon is here." So I said, "Oh, good, what do you..." So he said, "We'll be at the entrance that we all agreed on," which I won't say what it is on the air, like, because don't people turn it on next time. I said, "Simon is here, and we will be there at 5:10. Can you have the door open to prepare to receive?" I said, "Yes, no problem. OK, right, here we go." So I then contacted this guy called Ken Glassner, who I'd never met before, like all these people in the BBC. He was house foreman for the day, like, up immediately, right, give the secret keys, kind of thing. You know, we had these different doors and things, doors you never knew were there. Quite amazing. And we finally found a secret door outside I'd never seen all these years I've been at the BBC. There's, you know, I thought it was going to be perhaps like one of those Enid Blyton things, you know, where you get, like, you know, one of the stones on the wall and sort of tap, 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 3 turns to the left, you know, part of the door, you know, the wall comes out, pull the branch of the tree. And I thought it was something like a bin cupboard. I thought, we can't put Simon in the bin cupboard. But no, it turned out to be a proper door. Opens up, leads into broadcasting house. But there were troops of marauding, roaming girls, all moving from door to door. And anything that moved, they thought, "Hello, Simon! Hello, Simon, are you with Simon?" And they were rushing from door to door. And they were trying to find ways into the building. One or two actually crawled in and found ways in. It's amazing. So he lets me out, the man glass, and opens it. "He was up, there's the door." And we look out. There's no girls. Then I could see three little girls, little fat girls, all looking up and down the street. Predatory girls kind of thing. Obviously on lookout kind of thing. So I said, "Look, I'll have to go. I'll walk out casually, OK?" So I said, "Close the door behind me." And when I bang the door, when Simon comes, "Open the door." It's quite exciting. So he opens the door and I walk out. Well, as soon as they saw anything move from Broadcasting House, you know, they thought, "Hello." And they all watched me. And they all started to walk like wolves slowly towards me. And I just thought, walk up. But I pulled out my keys. Because turned out I'm in a car park, you know. Now, you know I can't drive. I don't know anything about cars. I wouldn't know where to put the damn keys. So I'm just, ho, get home. Thank goodness I shan't have to be around when that ho, Simon LeBon shows up, whoever he may be, kind of thing. Not in this entrance, I'm glad to say. Chinky, chinky with the key. And the girls, it didn't throw them for 1 minute. Don't ask me why. And so I had to walk out into the street. And I walk off to the corner of the street, and I wait around. And the EMI boards had said, "It's a blue Sierra." What's that to me? I don't know one car from another, as you know. I mean, I know what blue is. I've seen blue many a time. Sierras, know nothing of it. So obviously every blue car that arrives, I keep opening the door, sort of, "Come on, is Simon there? Come on, I want him up the back passage. Here we go." And then he goes, "Oh, get off!" Pushing me out. Sorry, happy Easter. And I thought, this is getting really weird. And then this car arrived at the lights over the road, like, and then sort of, that's the sound of lights going on and off, which you don't often hear on the radio. And I thought, it's them, but the three little girls spotted it as well. And we all sort of, and I walked slowly away from it. And then they said, "Is that Simon?" I said, No, Simon is not coming today. Simon has passed on. There's no Simons here." I thought, what am I going to say? And then the car came up, opened the door. Simon steps out. Well, of course, these girls, there were hundreds of girls around the corner, all at the main entrance, all waiting sort of thing. But he stepped out and they all looked. And one of them actually said, it was quite touching, one of them said, "Don't scream," to the others, like, because they thought if they went, "Yeah!" all the other guys would be like Zulu, you know, they'll over the top, they'll come rushing out. It's quite exciting, really. But so he just spoke to them all, it was perfectly pleasant, you know. Obviously, they didn't need to buy, like, you know, screw-top containers to scream into. That's what they should have brought, you know, so that, "There's Simon!" into it, and then they could have emptied it out at, like, Wapping or wherever they lived. That's quite good. But, so, anyway, we got him in, perfectly nice guy, and the show went all right. It went sort of all right. A red stripe was on, Stripe from the Flying Pickets, you know. And I felt a bit sorry for him, you know, because I'd like to have spoken more to him and him to get more say, but there were so many people always saying, you know, coming in and saying, "We'll bring the car out to this entrance," you know, and all that sort of thing. Simon was clearly, you know, the event of the day, which he couldn't help, you know, and the man Stripe seemed to have quite a lot of interesting things to say, but I just never had the chance, because I've never been a fan of that sort of, as you know, the Flying Pickets, which I see as some sort of hip king singers, but I mean, I may have got that wrong, but I mean, I'd like to have had a chat with him, but I didn't know, for instance, do you know what his name was before he changed it to Red Stripe?
Tell me.
Binky Dorking.
No.
It's true. So you need to talk to a man who used to be called Binky Dorking, don't you? But, of course, when we got him out, that was good, because the BBC, people there rise to that event. You know, these people you see around in uniforms, walking around the BBC, they've never had a real crisis since Rommel. You know what I mean? Like, but since is it? Don't worry, sir. I handled him in the Western Desert. Here I go. I can handle this little bomb boy, kind of thing. And then they all like form a chain or something like that. You know, link arms. But Simon was happy to meet the kids and said, "Look, I ought to talk to these kids. They've been waiting all day, and you know, it's not fair." And I thought, well, if he will, it's very nice. And we stood around in Broadcasting House reception. He got between the double doors, and they kept passing them in one end. He'd sign and have a little squeeze and take a photograph. One girl just walked through and just sort of, she'd been waiting all day. And they said, "Next, go on, little girl." They pulled her through, and she walked up to Simon LeBon and just walked past him and just said, "Hello," and walked by. And I didn't start. She obviously had all her life waited to say hello to Simon LeBon. So it was rather nice. But two police women came in, not policemen, they're quite, you know, small police women came in. Of course, they immediately came in. "Who is it? Rolf Harris?" I said, No. And they sort of went inside in case, because several of the girls were getting hysterical and we were having to shove them in. So it was an exciting day. If any fans are listening of Simon LeBon, he was happy, because you had a couple of them last night, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right, Taylor and Rhodes.
And they stayed out in the car park signing
an hour
for
and
ages, and we weren't really prepared for that to happen, you know what I mean? We thought he'd want to get away. and we couldn't, you know, the BBC said, look, it's blocking the doorway, the people can't get in and out of the BBC, and somebody came in and said, look, this has got to stop, sort of thing, so he had to go, you know, but he would have, because a lot of the fans were saying, he shouldn't have said he'd sign them if he wasn't going to kind of, you know, and they'd all been waiting a long time, and he'd been very happy to see everybody, you know, but the queue was so long, it was silly. So, if anybody's listening, you know, unfortunately, he couldn't see everybody, but that was the high spot of somebody's week, because some of them were in hysterics about it, but still, there we go. Change of subject time now. The living, changing language. Back to round table, sitting there, Peter Powell at one stage, he's talking about some disco record, and he suddenly says, oh yes, Peter says, this is, you know, mates, this is a really great record, you know, when people corrugated the disco to music like this. Look, corrugate? Doesn't that mean like bang? Oh, like sort of thing. Did you mean congregate? And afterwards he said he did. But on the other hand, I mean, these boys down discos, who knows? But then I noticed myself last week, I tell you what, there's a lot of words getting very muddled. And a gentleman from a record company came in and brought something for Round Table. And says, oh, this is what you've been waiting for. And as he puts it on the desk, I look up, because I'm playing another record, I just looked up and I just wanted to say something. And I was just going to say, I started to say, smash in. So, smash in, as he put it down. And then I was going to say, cheers. You know, the sort of way one does to people in record companies, yeah. Cheers, smashing. And it actually came out, smears. That's true. And I don't think he heard it. He went off. Unless it's going to be, you're going to say, hey, I was in Walter's office, you know, it's the new thing. Everyone's going to around and say, hey, smears. So, if anybody says smears to you, don't you know, look as if it's just the new hip thing, like from Boys Town Discos. Hey, smears. Anyway, there we go. The Arts serious event, as usual. We always get something serious. Last Tuesday night, after I'd been in studio here with Richard, I went out to the Mermaid Theatre, which is out by the river, as you know, along there, and see Streetcar Named Desire. Sheila Gish was starring in it as sort of Blanche kind of thing, and I've seen the film several times. I don't think I'd ever seen it on stage before, but she does a very good performance. I'm not going to go on about it, but I mean, it just is very good. People who are interested in Tennessee Williams, there it is on stage. It won't be, it's just on a few more weeks, but Sheila Gish, Streetcar Named Desire, Mermaid, I enjoyed it. There it was. It's a bit difficult when you know a film so well. Because the film is almost the different, you know, to have any guy come on and look up the stairs and shout sort of, hey, Stella! Kind of, you know, and it's, you know, it's not Brando. There's no, either he's got to imitate Brando, and there's, you know, it's very difficult to do it. There's a lot of people doing Richard III and not doing Olivier's version, you know, flopping about like that. Difficult. But in case people say, oh, it's London again, I did notice that in Manchester, I can't recommend it because I've not seen it, but there's some recommendations critically I've seen in the papers of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof there. So if you're absolutely crazy about Tennessee Williams, there it is all over the country. Another thing that's not in London, while we're doing a little arts mention, at the Arnolfini Gallery in Bristol, I noticed somebody I have mentioned, and I had on Walter's Weekly, I talked to the artist, Rose Garrard. A lot of very interesting work and very accessible. She's interested in like, the woman's role in the arts, because she says women have always been the models and men have been the painters, and her work, you know, I mean, you can see what it is, you know, I mean, if you walked in, you wouldn't say, what is it, a dustbin or something? No, I mean, it's that the story is there to be seen, and I would think if anybody's in the Bristol area, a trip to the Arnolfini to see Rose Garrard's stuff would be very rewarding, particularly if you were interested in the feminist movement. Change of subject. Feminism.
Uh-oh.
Did you see The Guardian this morning?
Not this
See
morning.
what those blighters have done to me?
What happened?
These women.
What?
Naked ape. I'm in the naked ape. No, but wait a minute. Hold on. And it says, it's John Walters talking on Radio 1 about his appearance on Pebble Mill at 1. I notice you don't get a mention.
Yeah.
Sorry, there you go. You see, they're going to hit everybody. It is all. Yeah. Anyway, they quote me, and it says, of course, only people's mums saw it. Nobody really saw it. Just people's mums. Now, the implication is there that what I'd said was nobody really saw it, just people's mums. So somebody's heard it, a lady named Aileen McAllister. That's what she thinks she heard said, and she assumes that that means that I think, oh, people's mums, women in their maturity or whatever it is, they are nobody, the women and mothers of England. They are nobody saw it, just people's mums. In fact, this is what I actually said. Today, I was up on Pebble Mill. But only people's mums see it, you know what I mean? Like, people don't see it, but people's mums see it. My mum saw it, that's all right. I've called her, she said she saw it. Okay, that was me. We had the tape in the office. So, in fact, what I'd said was, people didn't see it, just people's mums. And it was meant to be an ironic sort of reference to the fact that we as people, you know, I mean, grown-up people like we are, mature people, you do see that older generation as different, don't you? You know what I mean? I know people who are big feminists, anti-racist and all this sort of thing, but they still dump the kids on the grandma, you know what I mean? and you notice that a lot of television and radio in the day is aimed at older women staying at home. You know what I mean? It's the people's mums syndrome. You know, as if people are busy out working, but their mums are sat watching the telly on the... You know, and I do think there is a difference. It was just meant to be a throwaway thing, but I'm getting used to being attacked by the press. Who cares about that sort of thing? Did you see the Melody Maker while you were in Iceland? Did you get the Melody Maker?
No, I couldn't catch
Wally of the Week!
About time too. About time.
Well, of course I've forgotten about that. I mean, forget it. Actually, I'll explain it to you on Thursday. I said I can't do because I've forgotten about it, so it means nothing to me. I also noticed that in the Sunday Times, on Sunday, while you were away as well, I made a point with Richard that I had to go at the Price is Right and said all this sort of greed and money grubbing on the Price is Right. But I said, but it's the same as the Antique Roadshow. People are talking about that sort of thing on the BBC. People bring in these things, don't they? And then there's somebody sat there and there's a piece of flipping whale's tooth cameo nonsense. And then they're waiting desperately. They're not interested in whale's tooth cameos, Georgian mock and that. So they waited to the end and the guy says something like, well, I suppose, Mrs. Bagshot, you're interested in how much it's... Oh, well, I might as well while I hear, you know... They're waiting, you know, and it's like the Price is Right. And they go, well, it's worth 250 thousand. It's like Greystoke. They go mad at the end there. No, I mean, some woman has to be practically shaking, you know, all over the place. It's like winning Simon LeBon. So I made that point. And there's a bloke, Sean French, says the same thing in the Sunday Times television column. Now, it comes to something. I sit here, suddenly, like I just casually discover the wheel. Doesn't matter, I don't make anything out of it. 2 weeks later, somebody comes tricycling out of the Sunday Times, waving to the crowd's great acclaim. Well, Sean French, top of the morning, monsieur, to you, but on the other hand, actually, I suspect that it's really just a question of great minds thinking alike, you know, and we were the two critics who'd spotted it, but makes you wonder. But also, in The Observer, I did notice while we're talking to the Sunday papers, a chap called Lee Woods, I assume it's a chap, who looks at the films that are coming up on television. He just said, it was quite a good phrase, which I wish I'd thought of, in Jaws, and he said Jaws is about a seaside town. He said where half the population are in shock and the other half the population are in shock. Oh, never mind. Oh, well, there we go. Hang on a minute, where's the bell? I was just going to shake my keys. I found my keys here on the silent one. Radio 4. Radio 4. That's a new topic for us. On Thursday, while you were sunning yourself in Iceland, I went on that roller coaster thing. Woo! Nearly made me sick.
Thursday morning.
In the morning, yes, to the new thing that they're doing, the new revamped Radio 4, talking to Richard Baker and the team, and they picked me because I know nothing about gardening, not interested in gardening. Are you a gardening man?
Not at all.
Because I remember your old house had a little sort of postage stamp thing, you know, I mean, didn't it? Yeah, when you had a party, about 3 people could, like the 3 Graces, holding each other and turning around gently, not spilling the wine, and back in the house. Let's look at the garden. But that's the new one. If ever we get asked to see it, we'll have a lovely garden. But anyway, I'm talking to Richard Baker, and he said, look, like, go and do a piece on, like, garden sculpture and all that sort of thing. So I went out to the local garden centre, and it's incredible. I was telling him, obviously. But, you know, they got a section marked art, you know, and they've got this Venus by Botticelli. You know, and you look, and, I mean, I've seen the painting, you know, Botticelli's Venus, you know, Birth of Venus. And really, this is definitely... You know, it's this concrete woman standing in a shell, far too big for it, too much botty for a start, waving her arms about. And, you know, I mean, you really thought, as I said to him, it's not so much like, you know, possible to say Ming Dynasty, or just Dynasty, or Dallas would have been better for it. You know, they've got all this codswallopy art, and Bambi next to it, and you really thought, oh, come on. And it's all these things like boys fiddling about with fish and... little boys filling about with little boys. You know, you don't want it, do you, in the bottom of your flipping garden? Gnomes, dozens of gnomes. I really got fed up with it. There was a gnome standing, gnome sitting, gnome fishing, no reading. Then there was one of a gnome with his elbows on his knees, sitting on a stool, staring ahead of him, with such an expression of sort of horror and incomprehension that it really could... It must have been gnome, having taken part in... long expedition down the Amazon, having returned to civilization and inadvertently switched on The Price is Right. You know, it definitely looked that sort of thing. Well, near the end, are we? Yeah. And I tell you what I did on roller coaster. I ate some flowers. They brought it in at the end.
You ate some flowers?
They brought it in as dishes, like a restaurant is doing a special gardening. I had a snail and I had some flowers. Perfectly nice. Why not? Didn't matter to me. The real shock when you go and do this roller coaster thing is... you come out of this little studio, it's like James Bond. You know when James Bond used to go into some shop and there'd be a little old lady and he'd say something like, you know, a packet of cigarettes, please, and she'd say, your usual brand, sir? And go through the curtains in the back. Behind those curtains, boom, there's missiles and you know, great big, underground tunnels. And it's like that. You go to a roller coaster, as soon as you just step out the studio there, cast of thousands. There's girls on the phones. Hello, we'll call you back. I don't know. People say, is this the future of Radio 4? Well, I think they're planning something. I think if this gets out, particularly those Guardian women, there'll be women in woolies linking arms around that studio singing We Shall Not Be Moved. Finally, new faces from Marooned, the Radio 1 studios. See, being away, I've had nobody to talk to. 2 weeks, I've got to make new friends. What can I do? It's no good looking at me with that silly, jealous face of yours. I mean, for instance, I was forced into having a drink eventually with Andy Batten Foster. Do you know him, Andy Batten Foster?
I have met him a couple of times. He does Saturday Live,
yeah,
doesn't
and
he?
he comes down about Thursday, Friday from
Bristol.
the West Country. Yeah, and you, yes, from the West Country. He comes all the way down, you know, and I never really bothered with it. I mean, I speak to him in the corner. Hello, Andy, you know, and he totters by on the high, because wears his cowboy boots all the time. Because he comes from Bristol, and he's got a television show there, so I suppose he's a sort of Western hero, so he totters. Obviously, he went in and said, give me some boots suitable for a Western hero, and he stuck with these things, click, clop, you know, and I always thought he was drunk, but apparently not. Clearly not, because when you go for a drink with Andy, it's a drink. You know? No, you go in the club with Andy, the BBC club, you get around, then Andy goes home. You know, it's that kind of thing. Oh, hello. And I was absolutely stunned because there's somebody at the bar who actually looked round and he turned to his girlfriend when I give Andy his drink and he goes and sits down. To be fair, Andy, if you're listening, I know he bought me one the next day, actually. Just one. You know, you get one a day.
So you were out with him for 2 days?
Oh, well, I just happened to look in the pub and there he was. Hello, got your drink in. You know, you get one drink a day. You buy one day, he buys one another one. Him and Peel could be dehydrated, you know, and they'd have to be taken to hospital if they went to the pub together. But, I mean, there he is, you see, doing all that. But there was a couple at the bar, and as he walked away, the fellow turned to the girl and said, that's Andy Batten Foster. And she said, oh, is it? And he said, oh, yes, he's often in here. And I thought, is it me? Andy Batten Foster? I mean, if I'd have turned to anybody and said, that's Andy Batten Foster, why don't they say, who? I mean, these people are here 2 minutes, they come down one day a week, and people are starting to nudge and say, as if he's a star. And I'll tell you something else about him while we're talking, just before we finish. Did you know that he wants to be known as Bubbles?
Pardon?
He's putting it about that his name is really, or his pet name, as we'll call it, is Bubbles Batten Foster. This Skinner told me, and he didn't deny it. And Batten Foster was in the pub there, and people were going up, hello, Bubbles, and he just cringed a bit. But then he said he was organising a party down in Bristol, and I couldn't quite hear what he said, but I'm not sure whether he said he was going in a black frock coat or a black frock. I mean, but he coughed a bit, I couldn't quite tell. But I'm a little bit worried about these new boys that are coming in. High heels, totters about, wants to be called Bubbles, black frocks coming in. Just a minute. I mean, is he a man to watch? I'd like to finish on you know, before we would say smears, I'd like to finish on something suitable. I thought perhaps I'm forever blowing bubbles, but then I think it's best not to tempt fate. We'll just leave that one out there. So, I wonder if, you know, I couldn't find anything really suitable for Bubbles Batten Foster, but well, what do you think would be suitable for me?
Well, we haven't seen each other for a couple of weeks, and you've obviously been a little bit lonely, so for you, I have the cure.
Oh.
Smears.
Smears.